Before we get into today's story, I want you to imagine something. Imagine you are pregnant. For months along with your first baby, you have been suffering from horrible morning sickness every single day. It got so bad that one day, you passed out. You hit your head on the floor. And your doctor admitted you to the hospital for an entire week. 7 days in a hospital bed. Away from your home. Away from your comfort. Worried about your unborn baby. All you want is to go home. To sleep in your own bed. To eat your own food. To finally feel safe and comfortable. After 7 long days, you are finally discharged. You sit in the car. You close your eyes. You think about walking through your front door. You think about your bedroom. Your clean sheets. Your quiet house. You finally arrive. You walk up to your front door. You put the key in the lock. You open the door. And your entire world falls apart in an instant. Because what you see inside your home is something you never could have imagined. This is the real story of a 26-year-old woman. And what happened to her is something that will make your blood boil. Let's start from the beginning. This woman had just moved into her very first home with her husband. It was supposed to be their fresh start. Their new beginning. She was 4 months pregnant with their first child. Everything should have been perfect. But the pregnancy was brutal from the very beginning. She suffered from severe morning sickness. Not just regular nausea. The kind that completely takes over your life. The kind that leaves you unable to function normally. Until one terrible day. She passed out completely. She hit her head when she fell. And her doctor made the decision to admit her to hospital for an entire week. For 7 days she lay in that hospital bed. Worried about her baby. Missing her home. Counting down the days until she could leave. And during those 7 days, she trusted her husband to take care of things. She trusted him to keep their home safe. She trusted him to be there for her. But her husband had other plans entirely. While his pregnant wife was lying in a hospital bed, he made a decision. A decision that would change everything. His brother and his brother's entire family had been evicted from their home. And instead of finding another solution, instead of helping them find temporary accommodation, instead of even asking his sick pregnant wife, he simply let them move in. Not into one spare room. Not into a small corner of the house. He gave them 2 of their 3 bedrooms, including his wife's personal office. Her desk was moved. Her papers were thrown around carelessly. Her entire workspace was destroyed to make room for people she hadn't even agreed to host. And when she finally came home from hospital, this is what she walked into. Trash everywhere. Dirty clothes piled on every surface. Used diapers scattered across the floor. Every glass they owned was dirty and unwashed. The house that was supposed to be her safe haven. Her place of recovery. Her home. Was completely unrecognizable. She stood in the doorway and started to cry. And when she told her husband how she felt, when she expressed how heartbroken and shocked she was, he looked at her and said, "It wasn't that bad." Let that sink in for a moment. His pregnant wife, who had just spent a week in the hospital, who had come home to find strangers living in her house, who was standing in the middle of a complete disaster zone. And he told her it wasn't that bad. She was absolutely exhausted, both physically and emotionally. She had nothing left. So, she did the only thing she could do. She went to bed and slept for 4 solid hours. When she woke up, all she wanted was a glass of water. But she couldn't find a single clean glass. Because not one person had cleaned anything. Not her husband. Not his brother. Not his brother's wife. Nobody. She started washing the dishes herself. Sick. Pregnant. Exhausted. Washing dishes in her own home that had been destroyed by people who weren't even supposed to be there. The next morning was somehow even worse. She was trying to work from home. But the brothers' children were screaming and crying nonstop. Banging on the walls. Running through the house. Making it completely impossible to concentrate. And where was the children's mother? Sitting in her bedroom. 4 hours. Completely ignoring her own children. Leaving a sick pregnant woman to deal with the chaos. When her husband came home that evening, she expected an apology. She expected him to finally see how wrong this situation was. She expected something. But instead, he walked in and complained. He was upset that she hadn't made his brother's wife feel more welcome. He was upset that she hadn't helped with the children. He looked around the house and complained that nothing had been done. The same house that he had allowed to become a disaster zone. The same children that were absolutely not her responsibility. She had reached her absolute limit. She had nothing left to give. So, she picked up her phone. And she called her mom. She told her everything. Every single detail. Right there. In front of her husband. Because she needed someone in her corner. Because she needed someone who actually cared about her. And her mom? Her mom didn't hesitate for even 1 second. She showed up. With 3 of her older brothers. And when they walked through that front door, when they saw the state of the house with their own eyes, they were furious. Her mom looked at the husband and said very simply, "Since your family can stay here, so can we." And with that, her brothers started cleaning. Not quietly. Not politely. They cleaned loudly. Complaining about every piece of trash they picked up. Commenting on every dirty dish they washed. Making sure the husband heard exactly what they thought of the situation. Making sure he understood exactly what kind of man they believed he was. For putting his sick, pregnant wife through this. The brother's wife? She locked herself in her bedroom. She screamed through the door. But she didn't come out. She stayed there until her own family arrived to get her. Then something unexpected happened. The mother-in-law arrived. She had been told a completely different version of events. She had been lied to about what was actually happening. When she walked into that house. When she saw the reality with her own eyes. She was shocked. She had not known about the eviction. She had not known about the state of the house. She had been kept completely in the dark. And once she understood what had happened, she immediately joined the cleaning effort. And within just a few hours, the house wasn't just clean. It was deep cleaned. Better than it had been in weeks. The brothers' family was moved out. They went to stay with the mother-in-law. And the husband. He checked himself into a hotel. He gave his wife the space she had needed all along. Later that night, he sent her a message asking to talk. They spoke for 4 hours. For long, difficult hours. He finally admitted the truth. His brother was only ever supposed to stay for a couple of nights. He thought they would be gone before his wife came home. He thought he could handle it. He thought he could fix it before she ever found out. But it spiraled out of control. And instead of being honest, instead of asking for help, he took all of his frustration and dumped it onto his sick, pregnant wife. He admitted it was wrong. He admitted it was unfair. and he begged for another chance. She agreed to marriage counseling. She agreed to try. But she needed time. She needed space. She needed to heal. And then came the update that shocked absolutely everyone. The brother's wife. The woman who had locked herself in that bedroom. The woman who had ignored her own children. The woman who had sat there while a sick pregnant woman cleaned up after her. She admitted something. She had been having an affair. She told her husband she had gotten married too young. She said she no longer wanted the responsibilities of being a wife. She said she no longer wanted the responsibilities of being a mother. She wanted out of everything. Suddenly it all made sense. The eviction. The chaos. The neglected children. The locked bedroom door. It wasn't just selfishness. It was someone trying to escape an entire life. And this poor sick pregnant woman had been caught right in the middle of someone else's complete disaster. So, let me ask you, was this woman right to call her mom? Should she have handled it differently? And what would you have done if your partner allowed strangers to invade your home while you were lying sick in a hospital bed? I genuinely want to know what you think. Drop your answer in the comments below. Tell me honestly, what would you have done? Because personally, I think she handled this with more grace and patience than most people ever could. She was sick. She was pregnant. She was exhausted. And she was completely let down by the person who promised to protect her. But she found her strength. She called for help. And the people who truly loved her showed up. That's what family is supposed to look like. Not the family that invades your home without permission, but the family that shows up with cleaning supplies and 3 older brothers when you need them most. Make sure you subscribe to Unfiltered Chronicles for real stories like this every single day. I bring you the most emotional, shocking, and powerful real-life stories from real people. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. New story dropping tomorrow. And I promise you, you will not want to miss it. See you then.